So joining us now to discuss is Dr. Lisa Palmer, psychotherapist at the RenewMe Center in Florida. Dr. Palmer, thank you so much for joining us on this issue. We discussed this a few months ago on the show. At that time, it was kind of just temporary. You know, it was 3 or 4 months into it. We knew it was having impact on kids. But we are now looking at 8 months later of these kinds of restrictions being put on children in every aspect, from education to home to vacation, everything. What sort of impact are we seeing this having on our children 8 months later?
Well, I got to tell you, Scotty, it's having not only an effect on the children, but the parents. I actually had a friend that had her son in school recently. One of the kids in the class was diagnosed with COVID. She had to take the son out of school. And of course, you know, kids are excited about going to school. They want to get out of the house. They need to socialize. They need to be around other kids and have those experiences. So it's tough on the kids and the parents for sure.
Well, and that's the comment that as you just listened to John Huddy's package about it. You know, we are unfortunately seeing a rise in suicide rates amongst children. I do believe amongst teenagers. I don't think we are having a real conversation about it. We have to also go on what's going on in the home, because if it was already a home that was under stress, under normal circumstances, what sort of impact is 8 months of everybody being on top of each other with the other stresses now of financial stress, of having to take care of sick parents and family that aren't around? What are we seeing within the home right now of these children? How are they reacting to it and handling it?
Well, you know, Scotty, a lot of people don't realize how prevalent depression was in the first place, and suicide being the second leading cause of death amongst youngsters 10 to 24. So you figure kids who already had pre-existing depression, add social isolation, a pandemic, not being able to go to school, having to be home with your parents all the time, it definitely takes a toll. So we have to look at the consequences very seriously, suicide being one of them. A lot of people actually do suffer with suicidal ideation. I see that very commonly, and that means that they're thinking about suicide. They don't necessarily have a plan, but it is something to take seriously.
Yeah, and Dr. Palmer, I can just speak on this from personal experience. It's really hard to look at your children. You don't think of depression in an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, 11-year-old. It's pretty hard because you think the kids are just going to be happy, and we all have tough times. And, you know, if their toy breaks, okay, that's not enough to get depressed. You don't think that actually could be something even deeper than just a simple sadness over an item. This is what concerns me right now about the virus, because we talk about a virus that has very minimal effect on children under 18, very low, especially healthy children that don't have any other pre-existing conditions. Do you think that the mental health of our children are being taken into the consideration when health officials and school systems are making these calls to keep children at home? Do you think they're actually thinking of other health issues and the other health factors?
I think that we have to think about mental health across the board, Scotty, even more than we are right now. People need people need mental health treatment, they need care. Kids especially, you know, kids are very sensitive to what's going on in their households. If their parents feel anxiety, if their parents feel depression, which they do because a lot of people are suffering from problems financially and their relationships and so on and so forth, their health, kids are very sensitive to that. And a lot of times they exhibit symptoms as a result of that. So it's not just a matter of what's going on in the schools or not being able to go to school, but the fact that they don't have enough separation from their parents to be able to have some of that independence as well. And they're picking up a lot of the bad vibrations that might be happening in the household that can definitely affect a child's, you know, mental aspect. So that's something that has to be considered. And we definitely need more mental health treatment across the board. And that's one of the reasons why I'm developing that RenewMe app that's coming out next year, just to give people more assistance with meditations and help with regard to treatment and goal setting and coping skills and all of that, which we can utilize through just our devices. iOS technology can be very beneficial for people right now. So that is something that we can all look to use and help ourselves with that.
Well, and, obviously the devices and the screen time is something that every parent's worried about. Because I can be honest to tell you, between school and then just the only way that my children can socialize with other kids are through video games right now, I am very concerned about, the effect this is having on their health. I have to ask you, just for other parents and other people that might be watching, what are some of the red flags that we should be looking for right now that our children might be showing that they actually need help in some area?
A lot of children show signs of hopelessness, anger. They get very frustrated, might start throwing things, having difficulty sleeping. Obviously, if they're self-harming, if they're cutting, if they're hurting themselves, if they're banging their heads against the wall, you need to try to find help. We do live in this do-it-yourself society culture. And I do find that a lot of people say, oh, we'll figure it out. We'll try to, we'll watch YouTube videos and try to figure this stuff out ourselves. But, these symptoms oftentimes get worse. And if you don't get the proper help, it's not typically going to get better. It's not like going to Home Depot, getting a couple of tools and trying to fix these things yourselves. When you have anxiety, depression, insomnia, these are coming from other deeper issues, perhaps relationship issues in the family, issues with your past, trauma, what have you. You need professional help. You really do. And people need to take that seriously.
Well, and that's the thing is, that's hard for adults to handle, especially in this time. But you can imagine a child who doesn't even understand what's going on around them, also having those same emotions, them trying to process it. And you can see where sometimes it could be wrong in what they're processing. And it's not just your own children. It's looking at your neighbor kids and other kids that you see, just keeping, more of a vigilant eye on them. But I'm also worried about long-term, the effect. Now, they say children are resilient. We know that. But how do you think this might, how do you think these lockdowns and these events of today might affect children in functioning as they go to be adults, both within their own families and this workplace? In 20 years, will there be an effect on that generation of workers because of the issues in this situation they're put in today?
Well, think about how it affects brain development, even when we spend too much time on our computers, playing video games, not socializing, and so on and so forth. So kids, especially in their early years, they need to be exposed to children. They need to learn. They need to touch things. They need to play. They need to be outside. They need to be excited about school, excited about things. They need to have a certain level of structure, of discipline. And a lot of that's lost, Scotty, now with what's going on. And I just think about when I was a kid, just being excited about going to school and what I was going to wear and, just these little things. These kids don't have it now, and it's really sad for them, and it will affect them. Unfortunately, for some of these kids are going to miss some of the best years of their life. On a positive note, some of them are going to be able to spend more quality time with their family members. If the family members are making more quality time to be together, I see that happening a lot, and they're taking their kids to the park or having dinners together, and a lot of that was lost before. So we're going to be positive about the consequences of the pandemic, and there are some good things that have come out of it, and that's one of them.
Dr. Palmer, I like how you land on a good note. That's how I like to do it. It's all about how you handle the situation. Let's just hope that families are taking advantage of the positives of this time in society slowing down. Thanks for joining us. I have to wonder how much our children can handle, especially since it seems like we don't have a real handle on when this will end. And that sort of uncertainty is one of the hardest parts of this virus. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Palmer. Now, when we return, Houston, we have a problem. Well, maybe.